this is worksheet 1-3 for discovering pre-algebra part 2. All right, so if you're doing this video, chances are we're trying to learn how to turn fractions, decimals, and percents into each other so that we can find the percentage of a rate or a ratio. All right, so pause, correct your paper, and then I'll show you what I did. All right, so we're going to solve all of these in different ways, okay? So let me zoom in, and we'll get, there's many different ways that you could do it, and it would take me forever if I spent time showing you all the different ways. So we're going to do different ones, different ways. All right, so hold on one second. So in this one, we're going to first turn using the decimal, and then we're going to turn using the fraction. So in this one, we're going to turn this one to a percent using the decimal, okay? So I'm going to just, move the decimal place 2 places to the right. Whoa, that was too big. So 2 places to the right. All right, that's what I'm going to do. All right, and why I do that is because turning a decimal to a percent is multiplying it by 100. So 25 times 100 equals 25, which is 25%. And I can, double check that math by going 25 times 100, 5 times 0, 0, 5 times 0, 0, 5 times 1, 5. Put my placeholder, get right underneath my 2. 2 times 0, 0, 2 times 0, 0, 2 times 1 is 2. And then add going down, and then put my 2 decimal places, because this has 2 decimal places, into my answer. Put a percent sign at the end, and you got 25%. All right? So that's how you change a decimal into a percent. Now to change a fraction into a decimal, I have to divide them, and this goes inside. The top always goes inside, and the 5 always goes on the outside. And that makes sense because you're dividing the place value into the parts that you have. All right? So 5 can't go into 2. We know that a fraction is a number less than 1. So our decimal has to be less than 1, which means we already knew it's going to be a decimal. 5 can go into 20 4 times, and that's exact, so we're done. Now, because I wanted it to seamlessly look like a percent as well, I put the 0 there. But you could have written 0.4, and that would have been it. That would have been correct as well. All right, so in this one, we have both the percent and the decimal. I'm not going to show you how to turn that percent to a fraction. I haven't showed you how to do it proportionally yet, but we will come back to this when we do that. I taught you to turn it into a decimal and then to a fraction. All right, so that's the way I'm going to teach you. All right, so I'm going to teach you from the decimal into the fraction. So I take the decimal part, which is 5, and I put it over the placeholder, which the 5 is in the tens place. So it's 5/10. Remember, I told you this isn't the ones, because if it was the ones place, then it would be 5 over 1, which is a whole number, and the whole thing is that a decimal is less than 1. So they had to start with the tens place so that it could remain less than 1. Well, I know that 5 can go both into top and bottom here. 5 goes into 5 one time and into 10 2 times, and that is how I get the fraction 1/2. If you put 5 over 10, I'm not necessarily going to say that's wrong because it's technically a right answer, but I am going to say I would like the reduced answer. All right, so let's look at this next one. In this next one, I'm missing the percent. All right, and again, I could move this over 2 places. I could multiply it by 10, or I could do something with this fraction. Now, I haven't showed you proportional method yet, so I'm not going to show you that. What I taught you to do is to turn this fraction into a decimal and then into a percent. So we're going to go from the decimal from now. When we get into proportions, I'll show you another way. All right, so I need to take this number and I can either move the decimal 2 places or multiply by 100. I'm going to multiply this bad boy by 100. So 0, 0, 0, next line underneath 0, 0, 0, and then 4, 0, 0. I'm going to put my placeholders in. All right, so the number comes out as 0, 0, 4, 0, 0. I need 2 decimal places. So it comes out as just 4%, which is what I got. In this one, we're given a percent and we're given a fraction. Since I've already done the fraction to a decimal, I'm going to do a percent to a decimal. So if I move the decimal to the right 2 places to get to a percent, then to make it a percent into a decimal, I move the decimal. I should put it the other way. I move 2 places to the left. So if my decimal is right after this one, I go 1, 2. I have a clear spot. I'm going to put a 0 in it. So now it's 0.01. Okay. I could also do that by dividing. Okay. So I could divide by 100. Since 1 is timesing by the 100, this is dividing by 100. Okay, we knew it was going to have to be less than 1, so we knew we're going to need a decimal. 100 cannot go into 10, so I'm going to put a 0 in the tens place. For the hundredths place, I'm going to put 1 because 100 can go into 100 one time, and I get the same thing. All right, in this one they give us a percent and a decimal, and I need to turn it into a fraction because I haven't learned proportionality to go from fraction to percent and percent to fraction. I'm going to start with the decimal. Again, it's the fractional part over the place value. The fractional part or decimal part is 7, and that one's in the, we got the tenths, the hundredths, thousands. So this is in the thousands place. I can't reduce that anymore, so I'm done. In this one, we're given the fraction and the decimal. We did a decimal last, so we'll go ahead and do fraction first. Remember, to do this, I have to turn the fraction into a decimal, and then into, well, actually, let's do the decimal, and then on this one, I'll do the fraction. All right, so I have more than 1 here, which means I better have more than 100%, right? So I'm going to move that decimal 2 places, and I'm going to fill in with zeros, and it's going to be 330. Or I can just multiply by 100. 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3. Put my placeholder in. Add going down. 1 decimal place, and I have 330%. In this one, to be able to divide it, to make that decimal out of my fraction, first thing I need to do is make this improper. To do that, I'm going to multiply and add. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11 over 4. Now let's divide those two. Top goes inside, bottom goes on the outside. I should get a whole number because I had a whole number of 2 here. I should get a whole number of 2 in my number. And that's exactly what I'm going to get because 4 can go into 11 2 times. Four can go into 30. Let's see, 7 would be 28. 4 can go into 25 times. So 2.75. Another way you could have done it is just said, oh, I know I'm going to have a whole number of 2. Let me just divide out my fraction. So 3 on the inside, 4 on the outside. And you would have only had those last 2 steps to do. And then you could have just taken your 2, your whole number of 2, and plopped it down in front. You knew you were going to have a whole number of 2 because your fraction had a whole number of 2. All right, last one. How do I make the fraction? Well, the only thing we know how to do is from a decimal. So this 1 is going to be my whole number. So remember, in a fraction I have whole number, part, and we could say what it's out of, whole parts, or I like to say place value. So this is our makeup of our mixed number, So I'm just going to put everything in its parts. The 1 goes here in the whole number part. The 27 is the part of, and the place value is 100. This is in the hundreds place. So it's 1 in 27 hundredths. All right, that's it for that worksheet. Go ahead and keep doing it until it feels like second nature, and I'll see you in class.